Hello and welcome to Financial Confidence God's Way. I am your host, Lynn Dimmons, and I thank you for joining us for today's show. Your next level is waiting, 10 keys to financial freedom. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Finances in a rut, need a way out? Lynn Dimmons is here to help. She's your personal financial rebound coach. Being a wife, mother, and educator, she understands the importance of controlling your finances and building generational wealth. She is here to help you find money you didn't know you had and live life on your terms. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it is true and it's definitely a good thing. Lynn Dimmons of Dimmons Enterprise offers one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and radio podcasts entitled Financial Confidence God's Way on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. Lynn Dimmons of Dimmons Enterprise, your #1 financial rebound coach.
I'm so excited that you are joining us today here at WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. And our guiding principle for the show, we can never forget that, Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. We want to thank you so much. I'm so excited. I can hardly contain myself today. We have a special guest. She's an author. She's going to share some great information with you, Miss Tina Smith. Tina, would you welcome yourself to the show and introduce yourself, if you will, to the folks?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lynn, so much for having me on the show. I feel so blessed. I really have so much respect and admiration for all that you do for the kingdom, and just feel so blessed to be here to share with your audience today some information. As you stated, I just finished my book, 10 Keys to Financial Freedom at an Early Age. And so the reason that I felt it was really important to share this message in the book was I felt, biblically speaking, the back in when the Israelites were in Egypt and they served Pharaoh. And one of the reasons that God wanted to free them was so that they could use their hands and their gifts to serve him and not use their gifts to serve Pharaoh. And in the same way, I feel like we are to use our gifts and our talents to further the kingdom. And this message came to me. I mean, it's to share for this book.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tina. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started? Maybe some little juicy tidbits to share that no one else knows about?
Boy, I don't know that there are any juicy ones. I pretty much shared a lot of it in my on all of the things like my author bio. I pretty much shared everything about me. But basically, my story is I just started with nothing. And I relied on I followed the exact principles that I laid out in this book to be able to build wealth for myself and for my family and, for my son and my son's family. My hope is for generations to come. And things that may not be included in that, I'm a Bible teacher. I am so in love with the Word of God. I love the Word of God. I love studying. I love sharing it. I love helping people to understand it. And so I'm a Bible teacher. And so that's something that people may not know about me, because a lot of people know me because of my business dealings, but a lot of people may not know that I'm a Bible teacher.
Oh, great. Well, that's really an awesome opportunity as we're talking here today. You mentioned that you started out with nothing. So can you give us a little bit more detail there? I know everyone has a story, but someone I'm sure really needs to hear your story. What was that like for you and why did you decide to write this book?
Okay, so I started with nothing because I was running away from abuse, and so I running away, and I have to say running away from God, and just running, and so that's I literally did start with nothing, literally like winter without a coat and nothing. I mean, really, and so I think. And God was so, I'm not going to cry, but God was right there with me. You have to understand, He was right there with me and helping me and showing me and leading me and preparing the way before me. And so through that, I was able to have favor, when I would go places and have favor, and like Joseph, Joseph, when every work that he did, God blessed it. And I feel that way, that every work that I did with my hands, God blessed it. And I was able to, I think real estate was the way that I was able to, the investment tool. But the principles are what are timeless and what have led directly to financial freedom for me.
So let's expound on that a little bit. Coming from your background and thinking about, you said you were running literally from God, running away from a bad relationship. So normally when you're in the midst of things of that nature, you're not thinking about your finances and how do you get your finances on track, let alone get to the point that you're able to invest in real estate. So what was that path that you took that allowed you to be able to go that route? Because traditionally in our communities, that's not what we're thinking about. We're usually thinking about, I need the latest purse, whether that's Michael Kors or whomever, or I need the latest pair of Jordans. That tends to take precedence as opposed to looking into that realm and delving into real estate. So what was your journey? What was your thinking? What were the steps that you took?
So I did want to just clarify. The abuse was at the hands of my parents. So I was very young. I was running away from abusive parents, and so when I ran away, fortunately or unfortunately, the reason I said that God was right there with me was because although my why, we all have a why. My why was negative. In as much as my why, what drove me was, I'm never going to have to go back again. I'm never going to go back there again. I have to take care of myself. Nobody's here for me. I have to do it by myself. Nobody's here for me. And so with that passion and that very drive that I'm never going back there again is what, and to find ways to educate myself, to equip myself with knowledge and with and when I would go to work, I worked harder than everyone else. I had to do more. I'm going to do better. Whatever you pay me to do, I'm going to do it better. I'm going to do more than you pay me for. I have, and that drive. I think as far as distractions, I say this about myself. I think that naturally I am a person that is easily distracted. I'm if they had diagnoses of ADD when I was growing up, I probably would have been diagnosed with that. And so to combat that, I don't know how I learned, except God, how I learned to counter that was to these actual principles in this book. Work from list every day, like, okay, Tina, what are we going to do today? Okay, these are your goals for today. Okay, stay on track. What are you doing? These are your goals for today. This is your goal for this week. And I learned how to do that to keep myself centered from being all over the place. And rather than taking a Ritalin, a pill, I learned how to make myself work from lists. And so that was actually what kept me from wanting to, when everyone around me, I used to work in the music industry, when everyone around me was going to parties and, going to the Grammys I was at work. I had a goal. I didn't buy shoes. I could buy shoes anytime. So.
Right. So I can appreciate that. And I'm sure that the listeners also can appreciate and probably have been in this place where you think you're all by yourself. There's no one there for you but God. And you have to figure out what's my next, right? How do I get to that next level? So you mentioned the 10 keys in your book. What are the 10 keys? And what would you say, in addition to those 10 keys, what would be the top 3 keys that you would share?
Okay, the top one key that I could do better than the top 3. The top
Okay,
one key
the top one.
in this
Okay.
book is to put God first in your finances.
Mm.
If I could only give you one key, if anyone listening would do that one thing, just that one thing, everything about your finances would turn around. You have to believe me. One of the things that I wanted to share was a point. It's actually an excerpt from the book, but there was a situation where I had gotten my family into where we were effectively homeless. We were staying in a garage, someone's garage. We were sleeping in someone's garage. We were effectively unemployed. And we were at the lowest place we had ever been. And we got a paycheck. We got our first paycheck from this job when I finally was able to get a paycheck and start working. And I got the paycheck, and we had been praying, and we had been talking to God, and we had been, just believing that God was going to come through for us. And when I got that first paycheck, the first inclination was to get us out of this garage, get us go and use this paycheck to get us even to a hotel. But we had already, before we left the city and going to another city, and we had told God that this was in our heart, that we wanted to give our first fruits. First fruits, I'm sure your listeners already know from being your listeners that first fruits is, some people say, technically an Old Testament idea, but we had decided that we wanted to do this. This is above and beyond our tithe, because we continued to tithe when we were very, very poor. And so we got that first paycheck, and we turned it over, signed it over, immediately gave it to our church. Immediately, God started to restore us. Immediately. I mean, we are talking Friday, I got a paycheck. Saturday, we went to our P.O. box. Saturday, there was a letter asking us for our bank wire information to send us $10,000 in a bank wire, not a check, a bank wire. And when I called on Monday, the $10,000 turned out to be $14,000. Then the very next day, we went to our P.O. box. Every day that we went to our box, money showed up from nowhere. Literally nowhere. I mean, literally nowhere. Money showed up from nowhere. The $14,000 came from a former employee had stolen some money from me a long time before that. And I had helped her buy a condo. And so I had put a lien on the condo. And so she had decided to sell the condo, and I had put a judgment. So they were trying to pay my judgment. I thought I was never going to get them, ever going to see that money again. The next day, the very next day, we went to the box. There was another letter from the city of San Diego saying, "Oh, well, you're no longer a municipal employee. You have to get your $3,600 out of our account." What $3,600? What $3,600? They said, apparently, they said I left some small amount in an account when I left 20 years before that. And with the interest, it was $3,600. Okay, the next day we went to the box. The very next day we went to the box. The next day there is another check for the mortgage company said, you paid too much into your escrow account, and this is a refund. You paid too much the year before, and here's another $2,000. And every day we went to this mailbox. It was money that came from heaven. And the amount that I gave in the check was not even $2,000. And the amount that God sent us was almost $20,000.
Mm.
20,000. I mean,
Yes.
this is just one example of
Right,
how
right.
God is. And I'm sorry if I'm very passionate about that, but you don't understand that. I mean, most people, if we were embarrassed to tell our family,
Right.
because if our family, we didn't know they were knowing all this, but if our family, knew you're gonna give money, you're gonna,
Right.
they would have given us a hard time about it. Anyone, if we told anybody that this was just between me and my husband, this was what we decided to do, and then God just showed up. I mean, man, I wish I could just sit here and just tell you all, just how things just happen just like that.
And
It's just,
Tina, I
things
can
just happen for
definitely.
us, and we don't care what happens. I don't care what happens.
I can definitely appreciate your story, because I recall while I was reading that and thinking through how I've had similar events happen in my own life. So I know
Really,
I'm a witness. I'm a
really,
living witness as well to a
really.
very similar story. But what I want to say to you, and what I have a more difficult time helping other people understand, is how do you get to that point, right? How do you get to that point where you finally just say, look, I'm going to have the faith. This is my last dollar, but I'm going to give it. And to me, one of the things that I've learned is that I have to assign my seed, right? There has to be an assignment on my seed. So when I'm giving for a particular reason, right? I'm giving to advance the kingdom of God, but God, I'm also giving because I need you to help me. So in looking at that, how do you, when you think about your process, how did you get to that point where you were saying, I am going to give? Because you were in the garage. This was your paycheck coming in. How do you?
And my little 4-year-old son.
Oh, gee, yes, yes.
Okay, let me tell you and this is how I see it. And the only way I came to this land is God put it in here. But I just truly believe that it's not mine. But it's not mine. Everything that I've accomplished or whatever, it's not on my own. I couldn't do it by myself. There's nothing good. And so it's not mine. Whatever I earned, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to God. And I say that all the time. It's not mine. And God is allowing me to be the steward over 90% of this. He's allowing me to be, but this is all 100% His. Everything in heaven and earth belongs to God. Everything. And so it's not mine. I'm not playing with you. When I'm going somewhere, if I'm shopping in the grocery store or whatever, I really feel like, God, I feel like I want to do a good job of managing God's money. Just like that's the parable of the master that went away and left his stewards in charge of his estate. And he gave each and left them in charge. And it wasn't their money. It wasn't their stuff. And I feel that same way, that at some point the master's going to come back and ask me, what did you do with my stuff? And I want to be able to stand and answer that question. Like, I want to be a good steward for God. And it's not mine. It's not mine. People say, oh, I'm going to give God 10%. But you're not giving God 10%.
You can't give Him what's already His, right?
I mean it. I mean, you can't. And when you look at it that way, it's different. It feels different. And
absolutely.
Because I wouldn't have any, Lynn, if it was just up to me. If it was just up to me, like, I'd be nowhere. The only reason that I was able to earn this was because God gave me some gifts, and then He went and blessed my work, and He went ahead of me, Okay, you go on a job interview and you get the job. You didn't get the job because you're this super bad person. Oh wow, they saw my gifts and they saw how wonderful I was and how talented. No, you got the job because God went ahead of you and prepared that person's heart so that I don't care who else they interviewed. It was something about you that God put in their heart, and that's why they hired you. And that's why you're getting that check, because God went ahead of you and manipulated the resources of the universe to give you that job.
Yes, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Tina, you also mentioned something else that I want to delve, this is really good, but I want to delve a little bit more into your book. And one of the things that we talk about is good debt versus bad debt. And I've shared a post before about good debt versus bad debt. And I received a response from someone on social media, and she said to me, well, there's no such thing as good debt. And what I shared with her was good debt is debt that you leverage to that you could be able to increase your income in the future. For example, like real estate, or in some cases, looking at a student loan. If you are actually utilizing that education, right, to grow. I said that was an example of good debt. So where do you stand in that debate, the good debt versus the bad debt debate?
To me, it's very clear. It's so clear. Good debt is debt that is used to, just like you said, absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth. You absolutely are right. Good debt is debt that you've used to leverage something that will provide you a return. And because that's ultimately what we want. Anybody can go to work and get a paycheck. It doesn't matter how much you get or how little you get. What matters is how you manage it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. People say, oh, well, I don't make six figures. You don't have to make six figures. Even if you do make six figures and you don't manage it right, you're still going to have money problems. So
exactly.
It comes down to so the idea is what you said is that when you use your money, or you use this debt to acquire some type of an asset that's going to work for you in the future. So in other words, you're at the beach and your money's working for you. Okay, you're at the beach and you're somewhere else and your money's working. That's the whole idea. So that's what good debt does for you. Good debt allows you to acquire these assets, that appreciating assets. That's the difference, an appreciating asset, so that your asset is growing faster than your money would if it were just sitting there.
Right.
In other words, that's the idea. And so debt is necessary, I think, in order to build wealth. And we all know what bad debt is. Do I need to? May I please? No, let me say this. Please allow me to elaborate on bad debt, because I think people are missing it. I feel so badly because I feel like people are missing it, because it is such a conspiracy that I don't understand why it's legal. But this consumer debt is what keeps people from building wealth, because okay, first of all, bad debt is any debt that's used to buy disposable items. Disposable goods are like grocery and things you use, and disposable items, and also depreciating assets. And also things that you buy at a mall, like for example, clothing or shoes, those kinds of things. Okay, those are that type of debt is bad. We should never be using credit to buy those types of things, those disposable items, and we should never be using debt to buy those, because ultimately what happens is the asset, whatever asset you buy with it, even a car, it depreciates more quickly than the value rises. And so you end up in a situation where you're upside down very quickly.
As soon as you drive off the lot.
As soon as you drive off a lot.
Yes.
And if you are one of those people that must have a new car, okay, fine, buy a 2-year-old car, because a car in the first 2 years of its life, takes the biggest loss in its value on the first 2 years of its life. So then if you have to get a 2-year-old car, one that someone else has paid has taken the burden of this, taking the big depreciation in the first 2 years. But credit cards, please stay away from credit cards. They are bad news, bad debt, because those are, the system is set up to benefit the banking institutions. Yes, the banking, and not to benefit the consumer.
Right.
That type of debt is set up. There's no way that you could win with credit card, with revolving credit or credit card debt, because the way that the interest is calculated, and the way that they set it, the whole system is set up. They get the money basically. So you put $10,000 in your checking, in your savings account. They're going to give you about 1 or 2% interest. They're going to pay you about 1 or 2. They're going to take your $10,000 and they're going to loan it out to people at 25% interest. So they're giving you 1%. They're taking 25%, and then on top of that they're getting it from you at 1%. What happens is there's never enough money in the system. So tomorrow, all of us woke up and said, okay, I want my money. I want my $10,000. And we all show up at the bank. There's not enough money in the bank for us all to get our money. It's a pyramid. The money's not there. So if they'll go to another bank and they'll borrow it. Okay, bank, loan me some money. And they'll loan money between each other at no interest rate. And then they'll get money from the Federal Reserve Bank, will bail them out whatever they want. Give me some money, 1%. Yeah, we'll get. Okay. And in the meantime, they're making all this interest on it. And it's your money. So
yes, absolutely. So let me stop you right there for just one moment, because I need to speak to my audience really quickly. Guys, you're hearing it from more than just Lynn. You're hearing it from the other side of the country, from California as well. So we're not just blowing smoke at you when we talk about this good debt, bad debt conversation. It's very important that you recognize this and that you build assets, right? Not this consumer debt. Okay, Tina, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that plug in there because we talk about this over and over and over. And I work with so many females or women, if you will, and there's the challenge, right? I have to shop when I have to go and buy this latest purse, or I have to have now the iPhone 10 that's coming out real soon, and everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this iPhone 10, when your iPhone 6, right, works just as well, or your 7, right? So it's just a point that we have to continue to drive home, that we have to understand good debt versus bad debt. What is going to give me the ROI? What's the return on my investment when I purchase this item?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Lynn. And what I wanted to say is, I wanted to go back to this for a minute. It doesn't matter how much or how little you make. The principle is the same. If you make $1 million a month and you are a poor money manager, you are going to have money problems. If you're Michael Jackson, and I love Michael Jackson, but if you were Michael Jackson and you go on, spend $40,000 in the toy store, you're going to have problems. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you do not manage it according to these godly principles, it will leave you. It will depart from you. And it does with the same token. It doesn't matter how little you make. If you follow God's principles and of how He says to manage it, you will find financial freedom.
Absolutely. Great.
Lynn, am I talking too much? Okay.
No. I want to ask you something. So because you've written this book, The 10 Keys to Financial Freedom, and at an early age, but I want to know, what would you have told your younger self, right? What would be the one thing that Miss Tina would do differently given the opportunity?
Well, when I think about it, part of it what I would tell myself is basically chill out. It's going to work out because I have, I have, I have to, I have to put time or make myself chill out because
Mm.
I'm so, I guess I want to, I feel like, I really and honestly feel like I'm working for God. Like
Yes.
I'm working for God and I want to do a good job for him. And I want to do a good job. I really feel that way. And so sometimes I okay, sometimes, especially during the times like, it's a good example is, my son, he's now 23 and I'm very proud of him. But when he was growing up and he was a teenager in high school, junior high and high school, and I wanted him to get these, he has to be like me. He has to be exactly like me. He's going to be my clone, you know, and he's got to get these life skills and he's got to get time management and he's got to get those
Right.
things. And he's got to get this, and I tried to force this on him, and I was just so worried that he wasn't going to be me. Honestly, I was so worried he wasn't going to be like a good steward and all of these things. And I was just so, we did lots of counseling. Oh, we did lots of counseling. And so,
Yes.
and then at some point, I don't know when exactly it happened. He was this, I looked and he was this person. He's this young man that's Christ-centered, this,
Mm.
that has all of these like things, time management and all these things that I was they're part of him.
Yes, absolutely. Train up a child in the way he should go.
And and I'm like, oh, okay. So if I
Yeah,
could go back, I would tell myself to just chill out. I mean, just not. I think I'm a little bit controlling,
a little bit.
and so give the Holy Spirit a chance. I mean,
Mm.
don't just chill out and relax. It's gonna be okay. I mean, I guess if I had to tell myself, I guess in terms of how I can say it to the audience is have more faith. Have more
Yeah,
faith.
that's good. That's good.
And faith is sometimes challenging for people that are very competent. You
Mm.
know, faith is sometimes, when we rely on ourselves, we're very competent, then faith sometimes is a little more challenging,
Yes.
and I think so if I had to go back and do that, I would tell myself to just chill out and he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
He'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Those are some great words of wisdom that I can even take that a little bit because I have my little one, he is 7 years old. And we follow Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace at Home. So he has his little financial peace portfolio already. He has a give little, the little zipper pouches that they have when they're in elementary school. He has a little notebook with 3 zipper pouches, one for giving, one for saving, and then one for spending. So I'm drilling it in. I'm drilling it in, and you know what? I know that it's working because when he asks me for something, we'll go to the Lego store. He says, "Mom, will you buy me this Legos?" I said, "Well, buddy, how much money do you have?" Never mind. Right? He's not ready to spend his own money yet. So don't.
Good, they don't want to spend their money.
Right, exactly. So it's working when they don't want to spend their own money.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So as we
Absolutely.
get ready to close out, I want to ask you the last thing. I know that you shared that the number one thing, and it aligns with our show, put God first in all things. But what would be your favorite part of your book that you feel would resonate with people as they're on this path to financial freedom?
That I would have to say the faith of
Mm.
well, no, I think okay, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that because I just thought I think the key would be to rearrange the thinking so that we understand that it really doesn't belong to us. It belongs to God. And
Yes.
He's allowing us to manage 90% of it with the charge to bring the 10% back.
I love it. I love it. That mindset. We got to change the way we're thinking about it. This is not ours. It all belongs to Him. And He's just giving us an opportunity to manage it well. So how well are you doing? I love it. Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any parting words before we go?
Okay. So I was going to say, and we are going to have to stand to account at the end. And we all want to hear those 6 words.
Absolutely.
Well done. Well done.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So before we go, how can our listeners find you? Are you on social media?
Yes. So I can be found easily 2 ways. Facebook under Financial Freedom Guru. That's my Facebook name is Financial Freedom Guru. And then also my website is just my name, tinasmith.com. And my Tina is, of course, is spelled T-E-E-N-A. So it's tinasmith.com.
Great, great. Well, Tina, it has been a pleasure to have you with us today. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in to WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We thank you, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Finances in a rut? Need a way out? Lynn Dimmons is here to help. She's your personal financial rebound coach. Being a wife, mother, and educator, she understands the importance of controlling your finances and building generational wealth. She is here to help you find money you didn't know you had and live life on your terms. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it is true, and it's definitely a good thing. Lynn Dimmons of Dimmons Enterprise offers one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and radio podcasts entitled Financial Confidence God's Way on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. Lynn Dimmons of Dimmons Enterprise, your #1 financial rebound coach.